highest rank?
Tech 5. That's a corporal. Two stripes and a T.
Uh-huh. And can you tell me where you served?
Well, I started off in the States, but I went through the European theater of operation. That would be from England all the way to the end of the war
Uh-huh.
in Europe.
And can you tell me, were you drafted or did you enlist?
I was drafted because I wanted to enlist, but my brother was in the service, my older brother, and my mother wouldn't sign for me, so
Uh-huh.
I had to wait till I was drafted.
And where were you living at the time?
In Brooklyn,
In Brooklyn.
New York.
Do you recall the date that you were drafted?
Yes.
What date was that?
Not the day I was drafted, but the day I went in.
Yeah.
February 3rd, 1943.
Now, could you tell me about your first days in service? What
Well,
was that like?
I don't remember too much of that, you know. I just went to Camp Upton, New York.
Do you remember the camp?
Yeah, Camp Upton in New York. And they put us on a train after being there a day, getting our uniform and everything. I ended up in Rockford, Illinois, at Camp Grant, Illinois, which was medical, basic training.
Did you know you were going to medical basic training right
No.
away, or that was a
No.
surprise to you?
It's just when we got there, then we knew we went through basic there. And besides basic, I went to a clerical, can't think of the word,
Clerical school?
clerical school.
Yeah. How did it feel transitioning from being a civilian in Brooklyn to being in the service? What was it? What was it like?
It was something new to me. I was just past my 19th birthday, and I did what everybody else did. I just went along with whatever I had to do.
Yeah. Could you tell me about your boot camp and your training experiences?
Well, I was put in clerical school, and I learned all the things, but in basic training, I learned how to bandage people, how to handle wounded, and I think my outfit was going to be one of these outfits that was going to be on the field and do the operating on the field. And while I was there, I came down with a fever, and that's one of the things. They tapped my spine.
You have a spinal tap?
Yeah, because they thought I had meningitis.
Uh-huh.
And when I came out of that, we were out in the field going through maneuvers, and we were litter bearer. I was a little bit litter bearer. And with my back, I had to pick up heavy guys and run with them with them on the litter.
Uh-huh.
And when basic was over, if you want to ask some more about basic training, but that's about, well, we went through what we had to do. Saturday was parades. We paraded around, and Sunday we had the day off.
Uh-huh.
Then after basic, I was assigned to headquarters, our battalion headquarters, as a battalion clerk.
Battalion clerk.
And I handled all the 4 companies that took care of their rations, made sure they got the right rations and everything.
Uh-huh.
And the benefit was that the 4 companies, whatever food we gave each company, the chefs, the cooks, prepared the food.
Uh-huh.
And the benefit to me is I was able to go to any of the kitchens, any of the mess halls to eat. And one of our companies was what do you call immigrants, that came across and joined the army. As soon as they joined the army, they became citizens.
Uh-huh.
And they had chefs, cooks,
Probably.
that cooked the food better than the ones.
Yeah.
So I would eat there and with them.
I imagine.
And work deals with the cooks that I was able to give them extra rations. So when the battalion, the 16 weeks of basic training was over for the company, they had extra food to have a party.
Oh, yeah?
So I was able to manipulate and give them
A little extra food.
extra rations, so they were able to have parties at the end of the basic.
And where was his headquarters out of?
In Camp Brandt, Illinois.
Oh, okay. Now, do you remember any of your instructors at all from training?
No.
No.
In fact, I don't even remember any of the fellows that was in the company with me.
No.
Because it was 16 weeks and then we were off.
Uh-huh.
And then they went away and I was with... Then I must have been there for a month or so when they gave me an assignment and they sent me up to... it's in the book, and I forgot the camp. It's in Wisconsin. Sparta, Wisconsin. Camp McCoy.
Camp McCoy?
McCoy in Sparta, Wisconsin.
Uh-huh.
Where...
What was the assignment up there?
Where we was going to discharge the servicemen coming off the Alcan Highway that was too old, and they wanted to see how fast, if the war ended, how fast we could discharge them. They set it up on what do they call it, where each person has a job to do.
That their assignment, their MOS?
What?
As in their assignment within the military?
No, what I would write their name, this person. What, so?
Assembly line.
Like an assembly line.
Okay. So that was one of your jobs,
Yeah,
the process of the whole thing.
processing them out.
Uh-huh.
And while I was there, I was assigned to an infantry outfit.
Uh-huh.
And this is where I fired my first gun.
Uh-huh.
They handled me a rifle, which I never handled before.
And
They
one.
took me out to the range to fire, and I ended up with a swollen lip from the kick of the gun
Really?
because I didn't know how to handle it. And they had another thing, it's all in the book, that, an obstacle course. The obstacle course was crawling about 50 yards while live machine gun fire was being fired at you.
Huh.
And you had to roll on your back, get under barbed wire, and crawl while they were firing. And they had places where we had helmets on with numbers, and they would holler out a number to move over because they were going to set off an explosion to give us battlefield. But the thing is, when you were crawling up into the field, they had tracer bullets that you could see, and it looked like it was 4 inches off the ground, and you had to crawl in and crawl. So the 50 yards, we did it.
Yeah.
And
How'd you get through it? Was it tough or was it?
it was scary.
Yeah.
but everybody else go. Oh, while we were in basic training, there was another thing they did. We had for our basic, the gas, they gave us gas masks, and then they would give us a smell of different types of gas, so we could recognize what it is. And then we went in a room
The gas chamber?
with a TID, and we had to tell them, before we were able to put our mask on, we had to tell them our serial number. And I haven't forgotten it yet. It's 32784096.
Yeah.
That's when that was in basic training.
So they put you in a room, and before you could even put your mask on, you had to say your number?
Yeah, it was tear gas that they were using.
Well, that must have been brutal.
So they told us that we'd have to. So I studied that thing that it came out right away and put it on.
Yeah.
Got out of it.
That's good.
Okay, and then after we were finished up in Camp McCoy, Wisconsin, they sent me to Chicago.
Chicago?
To Fort Sheridan.
And what'd you do at Fort Sheridan?
It was a replacement depot. And because I was a T5 when I got there, they didn't have any work for us there. They sent me, and everybody, all the commission, we were sent on jobs. And I worked at the railroad, Union Railroad, for $9 a day. And we would go there, get paid, and go back. And two of us stopped off at the Palmer House in Chicago. And if you know the Palmer House, it's like the Waldorf Astoria. In our fatigues, and had a steak dinner for the $9. Didn't even cost us $9.
Yeah, that's probably good.
Yeah.
So how long were you in Chicago for?
About 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Yeah.
What year was this? In
43.
In 43?
It must have been almost the end of 43.
And after Chicago, where did you go?
What?
After you were done in Chicago, where did
we
you go?
went to Fort Custer, Michigan. And, so, I don't know what town it was. It couldn't be. It was a regular fort, and this turned out to be a CCC camp from before the. It was one of the CCC camps that they had during Roosevelt's time, the conservative something, and then while I was taking. Yeah, while I was taking my MP training, some big staff sergeant found out that I was a clerical clerk, called on me, and I was working with him on insurance things for the CCC, the more people that were hurt in the CCC. And I was going through records and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I was helping him while I was going through basic training. And the basic training, we handled every gun.
Yeah. The pistol and
the
rifle.
The machine gun, the 30 caliber machine gun and everything. And again, I went through that obstacle course again.
You had to do it again? How was it the second time? Did you learn anything from that?
It was just as scary as the first time. When you crawl up and you see those tracer bullets that look like 3-4 inches off the ground, and here.
Yeah.
So I had to go through that again. And then after I finished my basic, I was assigned to the 553rd MPEG company.
553rd?
Mm-hmm. And
after you were assigned to your company, did you have any R&R time to go home, or were you worried about after?
I had furlough when I was in the medical corps. And I didn't have any furlough while I was in the MPs. And with the 553rd, we got on train and we headed to Boston.
Okay.
And Camp Miles Standish outside of Boston.
Uh-huh. And then once you were in Boston, how long were you in Boston for?
About 2 or 3 weeks.
And
I don't even think it was that long, because then we boarded a ship, the USS Wakefield, which was a cruise
it
ship.
was a cruise ship?
And we went across the ocean by ourselves.
Just your outfit?
No,
Unprotected with
the
that.
boat. The boat had about 7,000. We were the overload.
Oh,
We were the last ones on the ship.
but there was no escort ships around
No.
it. Huh.
We were too fast for, and there was a Coast Guard ship with Marine gunners on it,
Uh-huh.
and took us 5 days to get across. Halfway across, we were watched over by a plane that would circle over us, and when we got close to England, we had the dirigible come around and watch us.
Yeah.
There was a rumor that there was a sub-pack waiting for us.
The German?
Hmm.
Yeah.
And we sailed into a storm. Instead of going through the southern, but that was a rumor, we don't know. But we ran into a storm, and we sailed around Ireland instead of going through the southern part between Ireland and England.
Mm-hmm.
And we landed in Liverpool.
Uh-huh.
And
What was that like when you first landed in
well, when we got off the ship, there was the Salvation Army handing out donuts.
Donuts?
Yeah.
Did you take any?
Yeah, they're handing out as we went by donuts.
Yeah.
And we were put on, and we trains, and we ended up in Rugeley, England,
Uh-huh.
which was a coal mining town.
What was your assignment when you were
There was no assignment.
Uh-huh.
Just come in there, and we didn't do anything, just daily whatever we had to do during the day, and go out and party with the British
Yeah.
girls, and they had dances for us and all that,
Yeah.
But that's the first time I saw where there was black and white. What would you call it?
Not a motion picture.
What?
A motion picture?
No, between integrate. Yeah, with black troops and white troops.
Integrated unit.
Yeah. No, they weren't integrated. They kept us separate.
Oh.
And I felt hurt a little bit that there was such, growing up in Brooklyn, there was no prejudice or anything. And when we would go out in the evening, we had 3 or 4 days that we'd go out, and 2 or 3 days they would go out. We weren't out at the same time.
Yeah.
Then from Rugeley, we went to Birmingham, England.
Uh-huh. What was that like?
It was the same thing, we were based in a anti-aircraft place, which wasn't used anymore because we had the control of the air. And then just before the invasion, we guarded an empty camp because the infantry was moving down into boats and going.
Uh-huh.
And then on D+1, I was walking down the street, and I was accosted by an elderly woman that said, "The British were dying while you American soldiers are staying in the England." What she didn't know is that we landed on 2 beaches, and they landed on one with the Canadians on another.
Yeah. Did you say anything, or
You know, because you pick up an English paper, it was all about the British.
Yeah, and they didn't say anything about
Nothing about the. He didn't know that we were.
And then from Birmingham, England, where did you go after that?
In Birmingham, England, we had time to travel.
Okay.
But we weren't able to get to London because there was a 50-mile radius that you could travel,
Mm-hmm.
and London was out of our. So I didn't get to London.
Yeah.
And from there we went to Plymouth. It was on D+4.
Uh-huh.
I'll tell you, we were being trained how to come off boats into landing crafts,
Mm-hmm.
climb down rope ladders into. So for a week, we were up and down ladders and all that, and then we boarded the ship. It was the British, the Royal British. I don't know what it's called, the Amble.
Uh-huh.
It was a victory ship, and we sailed there. And on D+5, we were offshore. We had the balloons above us to protect us if airplanes came, but there was no. On D+9, we, instead of us climbing down the ropes, because we were the last ones on the ship, they put us into the landing craft and loaded us in the water, and we came ashore on landing craft. And our captain wanted to show that the 553rd was good outfit. He was lining us up to march us off the beach when General Roosevelt, who was killed about 4 or 5 days later in friendly fire, came running down the beach and he says, "Get these men off the beach. There's men being killed here," because we were still in range of artillery fire.
Yeah.
And he was going to march us off, parade us off so we had to zigzag up a cliff through a minefield into a hedgerow. You know what the hedgerows were?
Yeah.
The farms, lands covered. Mm-hmm. And we had to dig in on sides. And the first thing we saw was a helmet just like ours with the MP with the white stripe around it with a bullet hole through it. So that was in, we would dig in.
Yeah.
And they didn't really have any jobs for us.
No.
Because it was too early in the... So one of our jobs was taking prisoners out to bury the dead in St. Maria Glace.
Mm-hmm.
One of the jobs I had was taking prisoners out on the field and burying the dead cattle that were bloated. Then we got the job of watching French collaborators that were being interviewed by CID people. And then we got our first job was with the 82nd Airborne Division.
Uh-huh.
They lost most of their MPs in the jump, and we did traffic control for them when they cut the Cherbourg Peninsula.
What was that like when you were working?
Well, we had our first casualties. We lost 2 of our fellas and 1 was wounded.
Uh-huh.
And I did a stupid thing, and I keep thinking about it now.
What did you do?
Our company was up on top of a cliff, on the top of a hill, and about 2-3 miles away was the German 88 guns. And they could see us whenever we sat down, and they would open up with their guns. We had sea rations, which was canned food.
Yeah.
And in the canned food, there was always 2 or 3 cans of Franks and beans, and it was rarely that you got it,
Yeah.
and I was heating the can on that thing when the Germans opened up fire. And I says, I'm going to stay here and eat my Franks and beans because everybody was going to that foxhole.
Yeah.
When a shell hit into the next foxhole and a piece of shrapnel landed next to me.
That's a wake-up call.
I wake up to go and lift everything. But to this day, I think, what would have happened if that shell, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
I was lucky the shell hit in the hedgerow next to us.
Mm-hmm. Did you guys end up returning fire, or just kind of seek shelter?
Well, we were doing control, most of the things. The Air Force, we would watch them dive bomb the area.
Yeah.
And they didn't do the job. And then I finally heard that the 82nd went up there and cleaned it out.
Uh-huh.
After we were finished with that, we were back with nothing much to do. And when the breakthrough of St. Lo, before St. Lo, if you know the story of St. Lo,
mm-hmm.
there was a bombing. We were about right outside of St. Lo. They moved us back about 10 miles.
Uh-huh.
The B-17s came over in waves and just bombed the city. And every time they would go by, our 240 howitzers opened up.
Yeah.
After the B-17s, the B-24s came over and bombed.
Uh-huh.
And when they passed over, then the 240 howitzers opened up again.
Yeah.
Then the dive bombers came in. And this is on just this town.
Yeah.
Well, after that, the prisoners that came in were so shaken up that they couldn't talk. And that was the breakthrough. And then we headed to Versailles, to the Versailles Gardens
Uh-huh.
for reassignment. And there's a story to that also.
Yeah.
While we were driving up towards Versailles, we were passing a 240 howitzer company,
Uh-huh.
and sitting on top of the tank that was pulling was my cousin.
Did you get to talk to him?
I yelled to the captain, I says, that's my cousin. I says, can I go with him? Because he's going to the Versailles Gardens also for reassignment.
Yeah.
He says, go.
Yeah. So how long did you get to catch up with your cousin for?
Well, I saw him, and we go into Versailles Gardens, and to me, Versailles Gardens, I'm a Brooklyn boy, I'm thinking of a small thing. Versailles Gardens was like Prospect Park or a Munster Park. I couldn't find my outfit.
Oh, no.
So what I did, I would try to turn myself into the MPs, the ones that they wouldn't touch me. So what I had to do, Versailles was already captured and the stores were opening and everything. I went from bar to bar until I ran into two of the fellas for my outfit. They took me back.
Yeah.
But from then on in, I kept seeing my cousin because he was assigned to the same corps that I was. So I got to see him. And then 40 years later, I saw him again.
That must have been good to see your family when you were over in Europe.
There we were assigned to the 8th Corps.
Uh-huh.
And then we got our job with the handling prisoners. Now, our job was, we had headquarters. Our company was made up of 4 sections with 3 squads each.
Mm-hmm.
And one section would stay with headquarters, and the other squads were sent up to the lines with the different infantry divisions that was in that corps.
Mm-hmm.
The jobs of us, the ones that were up in the front, would bring the prisoners back to our headquarters, which was no stockade.
Yeah.
When we got the prisoners there, we kept them in with white tape around us, around them to keep them
From moving.
We guarded them, and we would send then the ones that were in the headquarters would move them to the 8th Corps stockades.
Huh. Would they ever say anything to you, the prisoners of war?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because going back to when we landed in Normandy,
Yeah.
we were green. And I said I took prisoners out to bury the dead. Well, 6 of us with our rifles went out to guard them. We handed them shovels, and they thought we were going to kill them. But when they saw what they had to do, but there were 7 of us with the 6 or 7 prisoners.
Yeah.
When we got it, when I took them from our headquarters back to stockade, I would ride in the back with all the prisoners in the back of the truck, and with about 3 other trucks, with about 3 guards on about 150 prisoners to take them back to headquarters. And one time, just before the bulge, I had to take them back by train. And that was during that time when they were using the buzz bombs.
Yeah.
And the buzz bombs, as long as you heard them, you could see them, actually. As long as you heard them, there was no worry.
Yeah.
When they shut off, that meant they were going to come down.
Yeah.
And we were on this train with 2 boxloads of prisoners, and they put us on the siding because they had to get supplies up. And we had to stay there for a day, and we had to go out and fetch food for us and for the prisoners.
Yeah.
It wasn't, and the buzz bombs coming overhead. It wasn't, but we got them to the stockade and came back.
Yeah.
And during the bulge, before the bulge, we worked with the British also. We were assigned with a British outfit.
How were they to work with? Were they okay?
Yeah, handle their prisoners.
Yeah.
And then during the bulge, my squad was with the 4th Infantry Division. And when we heard that the Bastogne was surrounded, and that was our headquarters, we were wondering if we didn't have an outfit anymore. So we went, and then about a week later or 2 weeks later, we heard that the outfit was in the northern part of the bulge, and we was on the southern end of the bulge. So we had a hitchhike around the bulge. There's 6 of us.
How did you just pick up rides with convoys?
Yeah.
How do you go about flagging them down? Just say, hey, I need a ride?
No, we go like you hitchhike here. But they were still worried about, there was Germans in the American uniforms.
Yeah.
So they would ask us questions like, where you from, Brooklyn? And they would question you about the thing.
Yeah.
The people kept a watch.
Yeah, I imagine.
And so we returned to our outfit, and then from then on in, it was just a natural thing.
Yeah.
Going along.
Uh-huh. Now, did you see combat at all besides that incident?
No, the only time that I may have gotten into combat was when I was with the 4th Infantry Division.
Yeah.
We went and put up a roadblock.
Uh-huh.
They sent me along with the infantry, with some infantrymen to set up a roadblock just in case tanks would come through. And we had bazookas but no tanks came through our area.
Uh-huh. And besides the 2 casualties, were there any other casualties?
Yeah, we lost 2 more from sniper fire.
Uh-huh.
No, three we lost in sniper fire.
Uh-huh.
But the rest was normal thing, and the biggest thing was you'll read in my book, the Rose Pocket.
Uh-huh.
After we crossed the Rhine,
What was that like?
we were up at the bridge, the one that they captured full, the Remagen Bridge. Two of our fellas got the Bronze Star for bravery.
Uh-huh.
And
What happened?
they were at the bridge when the shelling, and they helped get the wounded out in a safe place.
Uh-huh.
Then when we crossed the Rhine, the Rose Pocket was where they surrounded about 150, 200,000 Germans.
Yeah.
We handled over 100,000 prisoners. And like I say, we didn't have a stockade. And there's pictures in that book that will show you you wouldn't see the eye from the end of the wall of prisoners. You take a look at pictures there.
Yeah.
And the only thing we had was a white tape around our building, and we had all the prisoners around us, and we were stopping trucks going back. We didn't have the truck, any supply truck that went by, we'd stop them loading off with prisoners to take back.
Yeah.
And one incident was a man with a wife and a child came walking down by us, and he opened a suitcase and put on his uniform and surrendered to us.
Huh.
They didn't want to get caught by the Russians. And when we ended the war, we were in where Buchenwald concentration camp was. And I didn't get into it because my captain, there were four Jewish fellas, and he didn't want us to see it. But I don't have the pictures. My son did when he went to Yale for his graduate school, he made a thing on the Holocaust, and he took it, and then he sent the pictures to the Holocaust Museum.
Oh, yeah.
And they got it.
Huh.
But I have something, they sent me copies, one of the fellas, but it didn't come out. I'll give you those pictures.
Yeah.
And the fellas went in there, and that's where Eisenhower said, called in the media to take pictures, because in later years somebody's going to say, never happened.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's gruesome.
Mm-hmm.
Now, well, do you remember your captain's name?
Captain Sturkin.
He was a good captain?
There's a story about that.
Yeah.
While we were digging in the wintertime, most of the outfits were going in to, I don't know if it should be on tape. He's gone already, and the one that did it was gone also. We were digging in, and it was cold. It was in the wintertime already. Most of the outfits were going in, service were going indoors and staying.
Yeah.
He had uh, can't think of the word. A trailer. He had a trailer with a mattress inside it. One day somebody shot a bullet through the mattress. I mean, through the trailer.
The trailer?
Well, he had the lieutenant smell everybody's gun. The one that was smelling everybody's gun was the one that shot the bullet through it. The lieutenant did it.
Really?
The next week we were indoors.
Yeah.
The headquarters.
Was the lieutenant trying to
give him the...
Yeah.
We were sleeping out in the cold and he was in this trailer being kept warm.
Yeah.
But when the war ended, that was where we were.
Yeah.
After that, there was a point system you must have heard about.
Yeah.
And we had too many points to go to the Pacific, where they were sending the troops back to the States.
Yeah.
And we had too many points, so they threw us into occupation. And we went down to Frankfurt, Germany for occupation.
How long were you down there for?
I really don't know the dates.
Yeah.
But what we were doing, we had a bomb-proof shelter that was dug down, and we had American prisoners that were raping, killing, things like that we watched. And I don't know, and then slowly but surely the war ended in Japan. The fellas were going home by themselves, being transferred to different outfits going home.
Yeah.
And then finally when I went into the MPs, I lost my D5 stripes.
Why?
Because basic training again.
Yeah.
But they put me back. This is another story. Our captain looked through my records and found out that I was a company clerk. And every time there was payroll, no matter where I was, he would call on me to type the payroll, which is a tough.
Typewriter?
Yeah, because I was a company clerk.
Yeah.
That was a tough job because if you made a mistake, the person who was redlined that month and wouldn't get paid that month. So no matter where I was, he would call me back.
Yeah.
And
so, now moving on here, how did you stay in touch with your family when you were?
Email letters.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only time they had a little worry about me was during the bulge. That they didn't hear from me for a month or so.
Yeah.
But otherwise, there was no.
Yeah. Besides the rations, the canned rations, what was the food like over there?
Well, we started with. There was an incident in Normandy where we woke up one day and we saw a sheet where our kitchen was. And a French farmer was hollering at our captain. They killed one of his cows, and they were
cooking it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And K rations was just a can of cheese, and the C rations were cans.
Yeah.
And we would get cigarettes and stuff like that.
Yeah. But
once we ended the war, we had a regular kitchen, regular food.
Was the food good when you had a regular kitchen?
Well, yeah, after I was a kid, I didn't eat anything, but I learned to eat in the service.
Yeah.
I learned so it was whatever they did.
Yeah. So, now, did you have plenty of supplies when you were over there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Supplies were. In fact, in Normandy, we had fresh bread right off the ships.
Yeah? That's good. Now, did you ever feel pressure or stress at all? Wow.
There was no shit. I was too young to be struck.
Now, was there anything you ever did for good luck at all?
What?
Anything special you did for good luck at all? Did you have any charms, or did you have anything you did?
No.
How did you guys entertain yourselves over there?
Well, my school, my section, the 3 squads, we chipped in and bought a radio, big radio, which we shared when we went to the different companies that had, we would plug it in and listen to it.
Yeah.
And the time that we were doing the hitchhiking, we had the radio, and we had it in a big box, wooden box that we were carrying. I don't know whatever happened to that radio.
Did you guys ever see entertainers or any USO shows?
Yes.
What did you see?
Red buttons. Let me see. Oh,
Well, if you want, I could stop it. Or?
yeah.
Okay.
I think I have something.
Okay, so we were talking about a USO show. And what was that like?
Let me tell you who were in it.
Yeah.
You'll recognize, unless you're too young to know them. Mickey Rooney.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean.
Red buttons.
Uh-huh.
You know.
Yeah.
I don't remember most of these, but Mickey Rooney was.
Yeah. He directed it. So what was it like? You guys just had a showing? Did you?
It was during when we were in occupation.
Uh-huh. Stop for a second. Okay, so it's recording again.
I covered first, second, and third.
Uh-huh.
Must have been 45 because that's when.
Now, can you tell me what you did when you were on leave?
Oh, there's a story to tell you.
Yeah.
When we were in occupation,
Uh-huh.
my brother Leon was in Italy,
Uh-huh.
and I was in Germany.
Uh-huh.
His captain and my captain got together, and they sent my brother to our company, assigned him to my company.
Really?
For a week.
Your captain knew it was your brother?
Yeah. They got together.
Yeah.
Because I told him about my brother being, and he was sent to our company, flew in from Italy to us, and he spent a week with us. Captain gave us a car and a driver.
Really?
To go, and it happened to be the Jewish holidays, so we in Heidelberg they had it was the high holidays. Yeah. And I'll tell you, the driver wasn't Jewish, and every time I saw him at the reunion, he would remind me that he came and sat with us.
Yeah. So, do you recall any particularly humorous or any unusual events that occurred at all?
What?
Any particularly humorous or any funny events that occurred?
No. I did get a furlough to Paris.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
What was Paris like?
It was a big city, but you want something funny?
Yeah.
Well, in Paris, I passed a store that said ice cream sodas.
Uh-huh.
And I went in. And what I got is just what it said. Ice, cream, and soda.
Oh. It was definitely not an ice cream soda.
No. They didn't know what it was. Oh, an incident in Luxembourg City when I was with
Take
the
care.
4th Infantry Division
Uh-huh.
that I needed film for my camera. And I
Yeah.
went into a camera store trying to speak French and I'm breaking my teeth trying to get to them. And when I walked out with the film, I realized that they were talking English to me.
The French?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Swiss. I wasn't paying attention to them
Yeah. You were
because
just trying to speak
I was
language.
trying to say what I wanted. And
Yeah. Now, when your brother came for the week up in Germany, right?
yeah,
What else did you guys do? Did you just hang out?
we went around and visited some of his friends that were in Germany in occupation.
Yeah.
And I saw some of my friends that were in occupation.
So that must have been a relief. That was probably
Yeah,
good to see him.
because I got my T5 back when the regular company clerk went back to the States. He was over 40, so he went right back to the States anyway. So right as soon as I got my T5 back.
Yeah.
So,
Now,
I was offered when I practically ran the office. The new captain that came in had a girlfriend at the hospital, and he spent most of the time at the hospital. So I had to sign all his documents and
the
everything.
captains?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and bring it into headquarters. So when I got my shipping orders to go home, he offered me first sergeant.
Really?
Yes.
You didn't take it?
No, I wanted to go
You wanted to
home.
go home? Now, when you went home, did you go back to Brooklyn?
Yeah, well, that's
Yeah.
where.
Yeah.
I want you to know that I was discharged a week after my brother was discharged.
Yeah.
On December 7th, 1945, 4 years exactly after World War II started.
Yeah. So,
Exactly
right on
four.
the anniversary of Pearl Harbor, right?
And it was my mother's birthday, December 7th.
Yeah. So it must have been good to be back home. Now, what did you think of the officers and your fellow servicemen that
Well,
you were with?
I had a run-in with the staff sergeant.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't really a run-in. I think he was prejudiced.
Uh-huh.
Because when we were in Boston, I was only a couple of hours from New York.
Yeah.
And I asked him if I could go home. And he wouldn't let me.
Wow. Did he give you a reason why?
No, he said, you had your furlough. But I never did.
That's not good.
But when we came overseas and he got to know me more, he used to write notes on my email.
Yeah.
Telling my mother what good things are.
Really? You think he felt bad?
Yeah, he wasn't liked by most of the fellas. He was a first sergeant, then he became a lieutenant.
Uh-huh.
And I don't want to say the words that the fellas said about him, but
No, they didn't like him.
They didn't like him. He made a field commission.
Yeah.
And then we had the other first sergeant got a field commission, and he was the one that gave me that map.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. He came in at the end of the war, when he was going home, he handed me this. He says, you take this. And he used to come to the reunions
Uh-huh.
at the beginning.
Now, did you ever keep a journal at all when you were overseas or
Just the where I was. That's why I never.
Yeah.
Just where I was. It's all in that book.
So you were discharged on December
7th,
45.
45.
What was it like when you came home and you were back in Brooklyn after being in the service?
Then I had two older brothers.
Yeah.
Besides the one that was in the service.
That was in the service?
Yeah. The one was in the service was married, And my other two older brothers, they were like 16 and 14 years older than I was.
Oh, so you were really the young one.
Yeah, I was a baby to family.
Yeah.
And they met me at the station, at Pennsylvania Station, because
Penn Station?
yeah, because I was in New Jersey, and they took me home by cab, and you saw the sign in the book, "Welcome Home, Leon and Bernie."
Yeah. And what did you do in the weeks and the days and the weeks afterward, after being discharged?
Well, I didn't do too much, and my father felt awfully bad for me. You know, they had that 52-20 week. You heard of that?
Yeah.
That I could have stayed home for 52 weeks and got $20 a week, and at that time, $20 was
That goes a long way.
yeah,
the depression. And stuff.
yeah. And I went to work.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What did you do for
I was in the women's line as a cutter,
Oh yeah.
and I was just beginning to learn. You know, I was trying to get into the union and all that.
Yeah.
And he was disappointed because all his friends' sons were still on the 52-20, and he felt that I should have stayed home.
Yeah. Now, why did you go right back to work and not collect them? You just wanted something to do? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever go back to school at all?
No.
No.
Yeah, I didn't graduate high school. I went into the service.
Now, can you tell me about any friendships that you may have developed in the service, and can you tell me if you continued them?
Well, there's this reunion that I go to.
Yeah. And what's that? How many years have you been doing that for? The reunion.
We started in '47, and we have it every year since.
Yeah.
It's the Labor Day weekend.
Always Labor Day weekend?
Yeah. The first one we went to in '47. Well, actually, the Pittsburgh boys had it in '46. Just for the Pittsburgh. And they decided in '47 to invite everybody.
At first, how many people?
The first we had close to 60 fellas out of 125.
That's good showing.
Mm-hmm.
And they've done it every year since?
Sylvia, we were married. Sylvia came with me, and we stayed at a cousin's house in Pittsburgh.
So a lot of the years it was out of Pittsburgh?
Well, that Pittsburgh went to Gettysburg area. We had it here 4 times in Connecticut. I hosted it. We had it in New York. But now we go to one place.
Yeah. And you're going there this weekend? Yeah. That should be fun.
Yeah.
So after the service, you started working as a cutter and stuff. What did you end up doing for a career after the service?
I went to design school, and I came up here.
Was that under the GI Bill?
No. I went under GI.
And where did you go to design school?
In New York.
Yeah.
And then I came up here, and I worked as a cutter on Navy raincoats.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. We were making Navy raincoats here. And then at that time, I was married, had 2 children, and we decided to move up here.
From Brooklyn?
Yeah, and a month or 2 months later, the place closed up.
After you moved up here?
Yeah, and my wife says, we're not going back to New York.
No.
And I had to find a job up here.
So what did you end up doing for work?
I got another job in Bridgeport where I ran a cutting room, and I started to design.
Now, how did your military experiences influence your thinking about the war or about military in general?
Well, you mean about... I thought the wars in Vietnam and what's going on now is a disaster. We shouldn't be in them. If we fought World War II like they're fighting these wars, the German flag would be flying in this country.
Yeah.
We shouldn't even be there. Our young men and women are. But that's my opinion.
Yeah.
And I think we should be out of there and let them solve their own problems.
Mm-hmm.
The United Nations is a big joke.
Yeah.
It's run by all these second-class countries that don't put no money into it, and they're telling us what to do. That's my opinion.
Did you join any veterans organizations?
I joined the Jewish War Veterans, but not when I lived in Brooklyn, because I thought it was too militarily, and I wanted to get away from the military. But when I moved up here, it was because of socializing.
Yeah.
You know, getting. But I also belong to the American Legion.
The American Legion.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how did your service and all the experiences you went through affect your life?
I don't think it affected my life at all.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you'd like to add that hasn't been covered in the interview?
No. Most everything, if I forgot something, you'll get it out of the book.
Yeah. That's fair.
And everything. I did it for my grandchildren and my children. They're not children anymore. They're going to be retired soon.
Yeah.
But I did my job.
Yeah.
I was no hero. Right?
Yeah, you fought. You did what you could for your country. You did an honorable thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is a good point to close up the interview, and I want to thank you for your time.